This is the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast, Episode 23. The Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast is a bi-weekly podcast dedicated to the world of scuba diving, ocean health, sustainability, and fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through diving education. Hello again, everyone. And again, I want to thank you for tuning into the podcast. I'm Jeff Centropino, your host and the founder and president of the Scuba Educational Alliance of Connecticut, dedicated to fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through scuba training and education. Well, July was certainly a scorcher. My AC has gotten a workout and the electric bill is through the roof. It's no secret that I like the warmer weather, but as they used to say when I was growing up, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Let's get that dew point down. Now, it's been a busy couple of weeks as we attended a local Parks and Recreation event with our friends at Scuba Shack, getting the word out about our organization. Also, I started to help out the Historical Diving Society with a project and attended a couple of meetings with the Boston Sea Rovers. Now, on today's show, my featured segment is going to look at a couple of things. First, an observation on Shark Week, and then some commentary on some new information just released by the Environmental Protection Agency. Things are certainly strange on both fronts. But up first, let's get some news and information updates with Sea State. This is Sea State here on the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast for Thursday, July 31st, 2025. I want to start off today with a couple of new products. One thing we can always count on in scuba diving is that there is always something new to buy. Some of these products are really innovative while others are, a little tried and true. Let's talk about something that is new but really tried and true. Sherwood Scuba has a new fin on the market. It's called the Forge Fin. Now, I really love Sherwood products. Plus, they are a very well-run company who support dive shops very well. The Forge Fin is very comparable to the Apex RK3 or the Fourth Element Tech Fin. I gotta tell you, when I looked at the photos, I was hard-pressed to know which fin I was looking at. This new fin from Sherwood is made of durable rubber and has a stainless steel spring strap with a heel pad. The fin has an enlarged foot pocket that accommodates dry suit boots. They made this fin negatively buoyant and it has the same channeling as the RK3. The sizes range from medium through 3XL. That means they can fit a boot from very small around size 5 up to size 18. That's according to their website. You can get them in black, orange, or steel blue. The MSRP on the Forge Fin is currently $202 US. Nice to see Sherwood moving in this direction. Now, as for innovation, this one is very interesting. Garmin announced the Garmin Descent S1 Smart Buoy. The Smart Buoy is designed to track, monitor, and communicate with the surface crew and divers below the surface, and it's geared to promote greater situational awareness. It uses Garmin's subwave sonar networking, and that integrates with Garmin dive computers, so it lives in the Garmin ecosystem. You can't use another dive computer to talk with the Smart Buoy, at least not yet. The system can track up to 8 divers and is able to exchange preset messages. Now, here's a very cool feature. If you're a diver connected to the Smart Buoy, you can use the Find My Buoy functionality to get a distance and direction to the buoy. Now, from what I've read, there are also diver-to-diver messages up to 100 meters away. Not sure that's a good thing to be separated that far from your group or buddy. But it does say that the remote diver monitoring of tank pressure, location, and depth are good up to 100 meters from the buoy. The surface team uses an app that connects by Wi-Fi to the buoy so they can be about 60 meters away from the buoy and still monitor the divers. The The Garmin Descent S1 Smart Buoy weighs in at around 2 pounds and has a runtime of up to 15 hours. The cost of the Smart Buoy is currently listed at $24.99 US. It will certainly be interesting to see how this rolls out, as there are a lot of dive computers on the market. Here's some shipwreck news, although this one you won't be diving. The Ocean Exploration Trust and the research vessel Nautilus, led by Dr. Bob Ballard, have been out in the Solomon Islands looking for wrecks in what is known as Iron Bottom Sound. That's off Guadalcanal and got its name for the naval battle there that resulted in quite a few sinkings. Well, on July 10th, the Nautilus discovered the Japanese Navy destroyer that was identified as the Terazuki. It's deep, 800 meters deep. The Terazuki was sunk on December 12, 1942 by PT boats, PT-37 and PT-40. It had only been in service for 3 months before being torpedoed, and there are no historical images of the vessel. But there is a photo of her sister ship, the Akazuki. Now, one of the interesting finds is that they observed depth charge still on the stern, which confirmed that it was the torpedoes that actually resulted in the sinking, not an explosion on board of the onboard ordnance. From what I've seen so far, the Nautilus is having an incredible expedition and finding a lot. As someone who has read a lot about the Battle of Guadalcanal, this sort of thing brings things back to life. I caught wind of another issue that has so many animal rights organizations upset. This one comes out of Washington, of course. You see, Congressman Begich, who is the Alaska at-large representative, has put forth a Marine Mammal Protection Act discussion draft. His reasoning is that the current MMPA from 1972 causes confusion, delay, unintended harm, uncertainty, and vague interpretation. At least that is what he said during a recent U.S. House subcommittee meeting on water, wildlife, and fisheries. You can watch them either live or, like I did, reviewed the video. It's the way things get done, and sometimes just political theater, but also informative in a sense. While most animal rights organizations and many environmental groups are lining up to protest this discussion draft, Congressman Begich repeatedly said that this is a draft for discussion, but if implemented, would pretty much decimate the protections that we put in place so many years ago that have had positive results. We just can't go back. And here's a reason that we can't go back and need to do more to protect marine mammals. There was a report coming out of Nags Head, North Carolina, about a fatal dolphin strike by a boat. They said the photo of the carcass was too graphic for publication. Even with the laws that are in place, there are still situations where either carelessness, neglect, or ambivalence puts marine mammals like dolphins, whales, manatees, and sea turtles in danger. I think the law requires that boats don't approach closer than 50 yards, and they should put their engines in neutral until the animals are clear. There are also speed restrictions and no-wake zones that should be followed, but we know how that goes. Bottom line is that there are some things boaters can do, like wearing polarized sunglasses to be able to spot marine mammals in the water or designate a wildlife spotter. Boat and propeller strikes continue to be a serious issue for marine mammals, and I would hate to see countermeasures go away, especially with a rewrite to the MMPA. And finally, I came across a story on MLive Michigan written by Mark Torregrossa. The headline, Great Lakes water temperatures getting warmer. Some beaches near 80 degrees. Break out the tropical gear. Actually, it's the surface temperature of parts of the Great Lake that is reaching the mark, something he called the magical swimming temperature. There's an illustration that NOAA Coast Watch put out that looks at satellite-driven surface temperatures over the Great Lakes. While the northern Great Lakes, the upper parts of Lake Huron, Lake Superior, are still pretty cold, but down south on Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and especially Lake Erie, the surface temperatures are quite balmy. Now, I wouldn't be putting on my 3mm wetsuit or shorty just yet for diving. I'll bet the thermocline is pretty dramatic. But with all the hot weather we've been experiencing, I'm pretty certain the water will continue to heat up as climate change continues. Well, that's it for this installment of Sea State here on the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. Okay, as I said at the top of the show, on today's featured segment, I'm going to cover two different topics. Topic one is what's going on with Shark Week, and topic two is what's happening with the Environmental Protection Agency. Both are a little disturbing to me, anyway. First off, I have to tell you that I'm not a fan of reality TV. I have never watched a single episode of Survivor or Big Brother, The Apprentice, The Voice, America's Got Talent, or any of the myriad of this genre on the tube. I'm just not entertained nor interested. And I have also never watched a single episode of Dancing with the Stars. So imagine my surprise when I caught a glimpse of this on the Discovery Channel's Shark Week 2025, Dancing with Sharks. Before I get into that, let's back up a little bit. I remember when Shark Week was about educating people about sharks. It all started way back in July 1988 on the Discovery Channel, and the primary mission of Shark Week, back then anyway, was to address conservation efforts for sharks, as well as dispel misconceptions about the species. They aired 10 different shows about sharks, and it nearly doubled the primetime viewing for the channel. So they brought it back the next year, and it has been going strong since then. Back then, the shows included shark predators or prey, sharks taking a siesta, and sharks of a different color. Sounds like it was all about the original intent. For a time, I used to look forward to Shark Week. Now, I have no interest. This year, in addition to the Dancing with Sharks kickoff, the other shows included Great White Assassins, Jaws vs. Mega Croc, Alien Sharks, Death Down Under, and Frankenshark, to name a few. To me, this is no longer about the effort to address conservation or dispel misconceptions, and that is really brought home with Dancing with the Sharks. The show is billed as an underwater dance competition with expert divers and their shark partners. There were 5 divers in the competition where they did moves like Hammerhead Hoedown or Tiger Trot. The show was hosted by Tom Bergeron, and the judges were Allison Holker, a dancer, Kinga Phillips, an actress and journalist, and Peter Holmes, a comedian, actor, writer, producer, and podcaster. The competitors were Jamie, Janelle, David, Kaylee, and Connor. Now, the show was filmed in Bimini because that's where divers go to see sharks, and you can participate in shark feeding adventures. I know there's a lot of varying opinions on whether shark feeding is appropriate, and I'm not going to weigh in on that. But from the minute or two of Dancing with Sharks that I saw, I firmly believe this was not appropriate, especially when one competitor grabbed the shark's fin for a short ride. All I could think about as I walked away from the TV was, is this the Happy Days moment? Like the Fonz, has Shark Week finally jumped the shark with their dance competition? Okay, now on to a different subject completely. What is really going on at the Environmental Protection Agency, and what are they trying to protect? There's a lot of reporting out there that the EPA has a proposal to undo the government's endangerment finding for pollutants coming from the burning of fossil fuels, which allows them to be regulated under the Clean Air Act. From what I gather, the EPA is saying essentially that greenhouse gases do not endanger people. The proposal dates back to March, but I think it's just now getting the spotlight. Now here's a quote from the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. "Today is the greatest day of deregulation our country has seen. We are driving a dagger straight into the heart of climate change religion to drive down the cost of living for American families, unleash American energy, bring back auto jobs to the U.S., and more." Back in 2007, the Supreme Court ruled that the EPA not only had the authority but also had the obligation to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act, and in 2009, the EPA issued an endangerment finding backed by an overwhelming body of science. So what's changed since 2009? For one thing, the planet continues to get hotter and hotter. 2024 was one of the hottest years on record, and I think about the disasters that happened as a result. There were the wildfires across the country, highlighted by the calamity in Los Angeles. Then there were the massive hurricanes, rising ocean temperatures, sweltering heat waves, and unbelievable ocean temperatures. Sounds like science got it right a long time ago. So what do you do now? Ignore science and deny the truth? Right now, this is just a proposal from the EPA, and I could not find it on the EPA website. But from what I gather, there will be a little bit of a challenge to get the endangerment finding dropped, because apparently, under the Inflation Reduction Act, greenhouse gases are labeled as pollutants under the Clean Air Act. While that may be an impediment to this arbitrary decision to change the findings, we've seen that abiding by the law is considered optional by some. And then if the lawsuits against these actions have success, they seem to quickly end up at the Supreme Court. And the current Supreme Court is a far cry from where we were in 2007. Here's another observation of where the EPA is headed. They are saying that greenhouse gases from fossil fuel power plants is so small that eliminating their emissions would have little impact on people's health. On July 18th, the EPA announced a reduction in force. They will be downsizing the administration by close to 4,000 individuals. Perhaps there is some merit in some of that, but that seems to me to be a big number. And just where they cut is important. However, when you look at some of the things that they are working on, there was a July 24th news release on their website titled, Making Gas Cans Great Again. Yeah, gas cans great again. Look, I want a strong environmental protection agency. We need it, we deserve it, and we need to stop going backwards. Sometimes things just don't make sense to me, like dancing with sharks, or that greenhouse gases aren't a risk. Up is down, and down is up, for now. Well, that wraps up this episode, and it also wraps up July. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks with more. Until then, stay cool, everyone. This has been the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast, a show dedicated to the world of scuba diving, ocean health, sustainability, and fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through diving education. Talk to you again real soon.